2011 MLG season has officially concluded, but of course the losers bracket round 93 is just getting underway, and we have a ton of great guests tonight. 3 amazing Starcraft players will be joining us. Later on in the show, Goldenboy will be joining us to talk about Call of Duty. He did commentary for the first time ever this past weekend. Tonight we have vileIllusion, 15-year-old prodigy, joining us. We also have our own RuFF, and also the highest placing free agent at the tournament, Shew, is also going to be here to talk about his experiences as a free agent over at MLG. Awesome weekend. So much to talk about. And, of course, I'm joined by my normal co-hosts. I'm here with Kurt from Check 6, Jerry from VVV Gaming, president of VVV Gaming, and Christian Asylum, our MOBA manager. Definitely want to see how all these guys are doing first before we get underway. Christian, you are blessed to be mentioned. We'll be first to talk. How are you doing this week, sir? How was your experience at Providence this past weekend?
It was exciting. It was very fun-filled, and it was extremely exhausting. That being said, it was my first MLG, not gonna lie, but it was utterly and completely amazing, and I can't wait for next year to go to 4 more. And yeah, that's about how it went for me. How'd it go for you, Kurt? How was your weekend watching MLG?
It actually went really well, man. It amazes me the fact that they have just really stepped their game up since the first MLG. This season, they go from tons amount of problems to all kinds of other stuff to really what was a flawless stream. I mean, it was, of course, there's always more things they can do, but for what they're doing right now, it was perfect. No delays, anything. So it was absolutely amazing. Jerry, how about you, bud? I know you were there.
Yeah, I mean, I spent all time in meetings, a lot of meetings, so it went quick, but it was very crowded on Saturday. I mean, I think that was one of the best things. It was a packed house. I thought that there was so much emphasis on there being plenty of seating and moving the program along. Overall, it was really good. I mean, I think it was a great way for them to end their first full season of StarCraft 2. I mean, I think for them, they hit a home run, and I think that only 2012 can only get better. So, yeah, overall, I was really, really happy. And you, Jason, what about you from home?
I got to watch more of MLG than I originally thought I was going to. I ended up getting one of the days off on the weekend. I was just thinking to myself, man, I should have just told them I'm calling out on Sunday and just flown up there. I almost did. I actually looked at ticket prices, but unfortunately they were a little bit much to swing last minute, next day flying out. So, of course, did not do that. But the stream from home, wow, I was absolutely impressed. The bracket for StarCraft was just staggering, to say the least. Wow, so many amazing players, and it was such a pleasure to watch. So many great games. And thankfully, because we had so many amazing games and we have so much to talk about, and we have 3 great guests here tonight that are going to help us talk about that StarCraft experience, what their personal experiences were at MLG, and then, of course, a little bit more about the people behind these names. So before, we've done our introductions, cool, let's actually get into the players. We'll do news later. I'm sure everyone already knows that's listening to this show what happened at MLG. So let's talk to the people that we have on the show with us tonight. Let's start it off with the best placing free agent at Providence. We have Shew, who finished top 48 on his own backing, no team, not representing anybody. Shew, it's your first time on the losers bracket. We'd like to welcome you. How are you doing tonight, man? I heard you just got off a plane. So what is this, rushing home to get on the show?
Hi, yeah. I'm sorry, I'm pretty tired. Got home from Providence yesterday. I landed around 4:30 in Indianapolis, where I go to college at Indiana University. And then I went back to my dorm room, stayed there for about 13 hours, and then flew out this morning to California for Thanksgiving break. So it's been a lot of traveling for me so far.
Oh my gosh, man. We really appreciate you actually, rushing home and hopping on the computer and sharing some time with us here, because we definitely want to learn a little bit more about the person that achieved this at MLG Providence. So we learned where you go to school, where you live at. Tell us a little bit more about the person. Who is Shew?
Not much more. I play Starcraft. just like doing what everybody else likes to do, I guess.
Well, let's start with this. Let's start with this. How long have you been playing StarCraft? Is this your first game you've played competitively? What's your history in competitive gaming?
I started playing Warcraft 3 a couple years ago. I just played it just so I could learn an RTS, and that was when StarCraft 2 I guess was first announced. So I kind of went into it preparing for StarCraft 2, but I would have much rather played Brood War. That would have prepared me a lot better. But at the time I was just kind of dumb. I don't know why I didn't play Brood War. But yeah, I played StarCraft 2 since the second phase of the beta, and since then I've just been playing that. That's my only game that I play.
Very cool. All right. Well, that's really neat. I definitely want to hear a little bit more about this team situation, though. I saw the interview that MLG had done with you, and I noticed that you used to play with a team as well. So you funded your entire trip to Providence. You basically were representing just yourself. Is there just no one that's been in talks with you, or you just don't feel like representing anybody? What's the story there?
Well, I was on previously Lazarus Gaming, which had Pain User and Zelnique and Og, a bunch of good players, a lot of them who are on Quanta Gaming right now. And pretty much that disbanded a couple months ago, or not a couple months ago, in February, several months ago. And since then, I haven't really gotten any steady offers. Random BattleNet clans would be oh, we have a couple Grandmasters and the rest are Diamond on our team, you should join us. And I'm like, well, can you guys send me to MLG? They're oh, no, we can't. And I don't want to just be on a random BattleNet clan. I want to compete. I want to play live. I wouldn't be doing this if I wasn't in it 100%. So I went into Providence thinking I need to do well. I need to represent something, have a good showing, so I can get my name out there and hopefully get on a good team and just really make my career go to the next level from next to nothing.
Well, I want to get a little bit more into who you are as a person. What part of California do you live in? And then what's your major at IU?
I'm from Irvine/Newport Beach area of California. It's in Orange County in Southern California. And at Indiana University, I'm a freshman, so I'm currently not studying anything in particular. But I'm just taking general education. But I want to do something music related, because also there I DJ for the radio station, and I am we have this thing called mobile DJ there, where we DJ house parties and parties in the area. They come and hire us, and yeah, so something music related, I guess I would like to get into.
Awesome. Well, Kurt, I'll let you jump in here.
All right. Well, I tell you, man, it was pretty amazing that you didn't really mention the DJing thing till now. Is there anything else about you that we think the community needs to know? It's pretty awesome, the DJ thing. I know a lot of people do that as well. So
that's about it, I guess. That's really all there is going on for me right now. Obviously StarCraft is a lot higher of a priority for me than DJing. I missed out on probably the biggest concert that we would have had to play in Providence this weekend, so having a good showing was really important to me.
Let's talk a little bit about your StarCraft goals then. Next year there will be obviously probably 4 MLG events, probably 4 IPL events for StarCraft, whatever goes on at Nazzle. What are your own personal goals as far as StarCraft? Are you taking this with the idea that you want to be number one? Or is it much more of a, want to be playing, want to be doing well, but, I've got school, I've got other priorities, and number one may not be so realistic. What's your goals?
My overall goal is eventually to be number one. I wouldn't be in this if I couldn't be number one. I just want to be number one. I'm an extremely competitive person. I played lacrosse for about 4 years. This is the first year that I'm not playing it, and I just needed a different competitive outlet. And StarCraft became my real competitive outlet, and I started playing it a lot. And one of my major goals is I want to go to Korea at some point in my career. And to do that, I need to get on a team. I need some support. I need to get into a Korean pro house. In college right now, I'm taking a Korean class, so I'm preparing myself for when I go to Korea. I'm taking this extremely seriously, and Yeah, that's just some of my major goals. Obviously, I need baby steps along the way. Like right now, first I need a team, and then from there I need good showings and reasons that a team would want to send me to Korea. Because, yeah, top 48 at MLG is good, but if at next MLGs I get knocked out in the first and second rounds every time, what's the point of sending me?
Yeah, I think you brought up a really good point, Shew. I mean, and I wanted to, just really quick hit on that. And I know you are actively looking for a team, which I think is absolutely awesome. And I know from your past experience and your dedication that any team would be, blessed to have you. But I am wondering, what in your mind are the reasons that you think a team should pick you up? I mean, there's two teams here. Not to say, we're necessarily interested in picking up anyone, but pitch it to us like you were pitching it to another team. What are some of the reasons that you think you deserve to be on a team?
Well, I guess nobody's ever really asked me that before.
I understand, but take your time.
I guess I'm up and coming. I'm not a new player to the scene. I've been playing since the beta, but I take this game extremely seriously. There's a lot of players out there who are on teams, but they just kind of got lucky getting on the team, and they go to MLGs and stuff, but they're not in it to be in it for the long run. I'm in it for the long run. This is my passion. This is what I love to do. Like, this is what I think about when I wake up. This is what I think about when I go to sleep. Like, I'm also part of Ghost Coaching and Six Pool Gaming, which are very big, like, media outlets, I guess you could say, which would be good, like, advertisement for teams, too. So, like, if I was on a team, I would be, on Ghost Coaching, it would say, like, I'm on this, or whenever Six Pool Gaming launches, Six Pool Gaming would help advertise the team as well. And I think I'm a fairly friendly person. I've never really met anybody in the Starcraft world that I didn't get along with. I have a lot of friends. I'm pretty well connected, I guess you could say. I just have a lot of diverse friends in the Starcraft community. And I'm also like a real practice workhorse. I like practicing a lot. I like, even if it's just sitting down grinding out 15, 20 games with one person, I just like practicing and getting better. And I think that's what's really important when you're on a team with people.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree completely, Shew. I don't know you personally, but I do know we have vileIllusion HD on our team currently on Check 6, and I mean, they speak highly of you, and I know a bunch of the other players that I know from various communities do as well. I do have just a quick follow-up question on that. I think you pitched yourself very well, but I'm curious to what, you mentioned you were on Lazarus Gaming earlier. I just want to know what your experiences were with Lazarus Gaming. Did everything go okay with everything go fine with the team? Would you like to see yourself back on a team like Quantic with your teammates? Do you really like those? I mean, just some of the questions surrounding Lazarus.
Yeah, I'm like I said, I'm good friends. Like Pain User, I hung out with him a bunch this weekend. Sickness on Check 6. Cool, like the list goes on. I just have a lot of friends in a lot of different teams. And yeah, Lazarus Gaming, I mean, it was okay. I was on a good team that had great showing. I never got sent to any MLGs though, unfortunately. There was a lot of backstory and stuff there. I don't know how much should get publicized or would get publicized. It's kind of a funky story, I guess you could say. But yeah, I'm sorry, what was like the last half of the question?
Well, I want to hop in on that. It's a funky story versus I don't know what funky story means.
I guess you could, in a short way, I guess you could just say promises were unkept.
Yeah, don't be ashamed. Just on a loser's bracket here, I'll call out anybody, just so you know. If somebody makes promises, of course, this is one of the reasons that those who are in favor of having contracts have one up, because in a contract situation, at least it's very explicitly clear what teams promise and do not promise because you've got it in writing. I'm assumed you were not contracted when you were at Lazarus Gaming?
Originally, the owner, Noah Lazarus, drafted up a contract, but this contract would never hold up in the court of law. It was horrid. Like, my dad is a lawyer. I have him read every contract before I sign it, just because he's a lawyer and he knows what to read for. And this one, he's like, yeah, this is a horrible contract. And so I told Noah, like, can you get like a lawyer or somebody to draft one up? And he's like, okay, yeah. And there was just a lack of communication on the team, a major lack of communication. Like, all the players would talk together, and we were all good friends and stuff. But in terms of us and Mr. Lazarus, there was next to nothing.
Gotcha. Okay. So obviously that wasn't a good situation. Do you know where you're headed next? Are you for certain you're going to follow your friends? How many teams have contacted you? What are some of the pros and cons of how you feel about that?
I'm not certain where I'm going right now. I would like to follow my friends. I guess pros would be the fact that I already know some of the players. The organization is extremely strong. It's extremely respected. Cons would be just having to get to know a new team, I guess, and a new way of life, I guess, because I've just been practicing on my own. I don't know if they have practice regimens, what time, like, you're required to play at this time, having to play in clan wars and things like that. But I'm willing to make sacrifices, because if you're not willing to make sacrifices, then what's the point of trying to be number one and, like, trying to do the best you can and stuff?
Well, Shew, you would be really surprised. a lot of players don't necessarily want to make those sacrifices, so they just want things sometimes handed to them. So I'm glad to see you're willing to work for what you get, and I most certainly hope you get on a team. One thing that I think amazed myself and some of the other people in probably management level things, we were pretty amazed in how you were very, very open in your interview. You said that you would love to talk to Quantic, but you talked to the Complexity Academy, stuff like that. A lot of people found that maybe as a fault, but I personally don't. I think I love to see the fact that you're very, very open about things. I think the community really took to you well. So I mean, do you have any particular thing that you want to say to the community that either you feel like you didn't do well, or feel like you did do well, or anything that you would like to for them to hear you say?
Obviously, thinking back on it, like, saying that I was talking to specific teams, like, with names in general, was probably a fault in my opinion. I should have just said, like, yeah, I'm talking with a few teams, and just left it at that, maybe not have named any names. But when you have a camera and a microphone in front of you, you kind of just go in, you just, like, I don't know how to explain it, you just kind of just start talking, and you just need to watch what you say more, which I've never been in front of a camera just talking about an interview because of my play before. So that was a new experience. And I'm sorry, I'm tired. I just got off.
No, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I mean, I think Kurt said something that, you caught my interest, Kurt. There was some criticism that, I think the biggest thing that, so from VV Gaming's perspective, you look at a player like that and they say, well, I'm talking to Quantic Gaming, I have friends there. It's real quick for organizations to say, well, now it's one of two situations, right? Now I've got to outbid you or outbid Quantic Gaming, which means now it's an issue of, and this is something I think all players should think about. Now it's an issue of, do I want to get into a spending war over a player with somebody else, right? Or two, right, do I want to talk about all the things that make, say, VV Gaming phenomenal, but at the same time, he's going to long to be with his friends, right? So I think and I'm just giving one perspective and kind of echoing those who said, maybe you shouldn't have been so quick to say that, because other organizations may then turn away, right? Which isn't bad if your intention is, I want Quantic first. If I can't get Quantic first, I'll consider my other options. But you can hopefully understand how somebody could look at it that way.
Yeah, immediately after saying it, like, I was like, oh, shoot, like, I probably shouldn't have said that kind of stuff. And to be fair, like Quantic Gaming has not outwardly said, like, Shew, we want you to sign a contract, let's talk about a contract. They haven't said anything of those sorts or anything. The only thing that's definite about contracts has been Complexity Academy, because I've been working on that on my own well before MLG Providence. But I've been in talk with, like, the manager of the team and a couple things just here and there over the last couple months of Quantic and stuff. So it's not like they're, like, sending me contracts and I'm like, no, I want this instead or anything. It's nothing like that. Like, that's what I was afraid of, was me saying that, and then the people at Quantic are like, oh, well, maybe we just shouldn't take him since he's already talking and stuff. I don't know. It was just a fault on my part, I guess. I just apologize for it.
Yeah, I don't think you have anything to necessarily apologize for, though. But I can definitely understand where you're coming from, it being sort of thrust into the spotlight and not knowing immediately what to say for things like that. But I am sure either way, despite what was said, I think either way, any team would be glad to have you. So, Jerry, you got any more questions specifically for him, for Shew?
No, I think that's it. Jason, why don't we bring on another guest so we can talk more StarCraft?
Mm-hmm, most definitely. Before you head out, Shew, because I know you actually have to get going here very shortly, because as we were just talking about before, you did just hop off a plane and you're seeing your family for the first time in a couple months. I actually want to bring in, and I hope this isn't rubbing any salt in the wound here, but we actually have the person who eliminated you from the tournament as a guest here on the show this week as well. vileIllusion, 15 years old, absolutely amazing performance at MLG. I believe he eliminated Sheth, and there was another big name as well. I can't remember off the top of my head, but Illusion, we want to welcome you to the show. How are you doing, sir? And tell us a little bit about yourself. I know a lot of people want to know about the person behind this name.
I'm really exhausted because I got off the plane and I had to go to school, so I'm running off no sleep. Yeah, my experience is pretty nice. I just play for fun, but I'm starting to look for a more competitive scene, and I believe MLG Providence was my event to try that, and I got pretty far. And for the other notable name was my teammate Shew. That's who I eliminated. I didn't feel very good afterwards, but it happens.
Yeah, I think you're almost being modest, because a lot of people don't realize. I mean, some of the other people that you might have eliminated were somewhat smaller names than Sheth and Shew, but they were still really amazing players. The fact that, number one, you made it into the championship bracket, period, is phenomenal. You then took out Shew 2-0, and you won Sheth 2-1, and then of course you went out to Hey Pro, but Hey Pro was having an amazing tear through that tournament. So it's pretty amazing the fact that you were able to do that. And not only that, like some of the smaller players, you took out Future, who was from VT, and you took out Kawhi Rice from Fnatic. I mean, that's huge. So I mean, definitely you should give yourself some props for the amazing, absolutely amazing play that you had. So
yeah, Future was actually really nice about it, and I got to meet him at the hotel afterwards. He's on Raid now, actually. And another semi-big name, I guess, I beat was Atero, and he had a pretty good run. I'm not sure how he did at IEM, but he qualified, and I heard he's been getting really good tournament results lately, so I was pretty happy about that.
Yeah, you definitely should be, bud. Jerry, you want to hit up with some questions for Illusion here?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing is was that I think this MLG as a whole, there were some real surprises from people who were younger than the average StarCraft age. So that speaks very high to the future. And I want to get into a little bit about, sort of how does your family gauge the performance, and what are some of the balances you have to make in preparing for StarCraft, as well as school and other things that I'm sure your family would love for you to focus on. So I get a little bit feel for how supportive they are, and overall how you think you balance both family, school, and practicing and getting ready for StarCraft.
Sometimes they encourage me, sometimes they don't. Like, sometimes I'll miss out on school to go to these events, and usually, I used to be a really good student. Like, I didn't play any games, but once StarCraft 2 came out, pretty much took over most of my free time. So I get home and pretty much play for the whole day. I do my homework during school if I can, and if I have to do it after school, I rush right through it and try to do a satisfactory job. I take StarCraft as a priority over my education for now because my education's not very hard. I'm only in 10th grade, but yeah, that's pretty much how it goes, and my parents have been supportive as of late, and they've been pretty impressed with my results.
So they're okay with you putting StarCraft over your education?
Somewhat. They don't know I put it over. It looks to them. It looks like I'm balancing out because I'm getting okay grades. Like I'm not failing anything, so they don't have any problem with it.
Gotcha. Well, we're going to ask you that same question that we asked before. Looking to 2012, are you also going for the want to be number one? Is that it? Is it all in StarCraft? And, what's next for you? Are you satisfied where you're at now? Are you getting the quality practices that you think you need to go to the next level? What do you see in the future for you as a player?
In the future, as a player, I want to be the best or one of the best. Of course, you can't always win everything, but you can get pretty close to winning almost everything, and that's my goal. In the future, I want to go to Korea. I'm Korean, so I can speak Korean well, and I need to learn how to read and write if I want to survive in Korea. But I've been practicing with a lot of well-known people now. So that's been helping me with my practice, and I've also been practicing on the Korean server privately with a few secret pro members. I'm not allowed to say.
Secret pro members? I didn't even know how to address that. What is that? Say that one more time so I know what did I miss there? Secret pro members?
Well, in Korea, they have clans, and then they have teams. And I practice with a certain clan, which has a few well-known players, but I don't think they'd be very comfortable with me saying them out loud because it hasn't been like official yet. So I'm just gonna keep them on the side.
Gotcha. Okay, no problem. Well, good.
Mystery. I like the mystery, though. I'm telling you.
I know, dangling the carrots. Wow.
This kid's already building a story up. I'm telling you. He's got the right idea.
All right, so let's talk a little bit. I want to know, how many MLG events have you been to, first of all?
I've been to 3, Raleigh, Orlando, and Providence.
What do you think was different in Providence compared to your previous 2 events for you?
I didn't really prepare well for them. I didn't practice very much, and I lost 2 silly things, and I've just been refining those tiny mistakes that I've been losing to. And at Providence, I ate better, I slept better, I practiced better, and I got there earlier, except on Sunday. But yeah, overall, I just prepared better, and that's the only reason I did better.
I know this time you placed 24th. What were your previous 2 placements, for those who may not know?
I actually don't know very well either. I know it's in the top 50 area, I believe.
Gotcha, okay. Kurt, I'm going to bring you in on this, too. It's interesting to see, players come up that maybe previously haven't done so well. I mean, even you at Check 6, there were some really cool surprises. It's been a very interesting MLG, I thought, overall, with a lot of players and teams doing well. And I'm probably going to ask you, Illusion, first, and I'm going to ask you, Kurt, also. Outside of yourself, Illusion, looking at the top 32, what were some of the big surprises of either A, players who did really well, or B, players who you think were a disappointment?
I was competing, so I didn't have much time to look at how everyone else was doing. But one thing that surprised me a lot was how April rolled through almost everyone. I did not see that one coming because he's been off the radar for quite a long time, but he performed really well. So I was really surprised about that.
Anybody disappoint you?
I think Tyler. I expect him to do a little bit better, but he's still a great player, so I respect him in that regard.
All right, Kurt, what about you?
I don't know. I suppose I've got multiple answers, to be honest, because you've, of course, got the obvious answer. You've got people like Naniwa, who I think really, just shown people that his wins before weren't necessarily a fluke. He hasn't really done a lot lately, and he just came in and destroyed players that people had thought he had virtually no chance against. Most people, at least. So that's absolutely amazing. There's a few other players that are, of course, a little bit smaller that I think were a little bit disappointing. Players like Artist, to be honest, from Rain. I don't think he has performed quite up to his potential yet. I don't think he's a bad player. I don't think he's, people are saying that, that he's a lot better than he actually is. I think he just hasn't quite lived up to his potential yet. I think there's quite a few players that really did absolutely amazing that you wouldn't necessarily believe they were going to. And then there's players that, didn't do so well that you would expect to do well. I think Artist is a good representation of that too. So,
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I'm going to throw this out there too, then, because I mean, in watching all of this, we haven't talked about the winner very much. We haven't said, "Hey, look, Leenock did really well." And I think before we start talking about that, Jason, I know we have one more guest for Starcraft, so why don't we bring our next guest on, and then we'll talk a little bit about some of those top 8 finishes that we had this event.
Sure thing. We've got actually our highest placing from VVV Gaming at the event. He took out a couple of really impressive players as well, including an awesome match against EG Strifecrow. We've got RuFF here, one of the most unusual players you've ever seen play StarCraft, and I mean that in the best way possible. A lot of people talk cheese. This man, I think he brings this to an entirely new level, because with him it's not about cheesing, it's just about winning. So I really like that about him. We've got RuFF here. Ruff, it's your first time on the Losers Bracket, sir. I want to introduce you, say hey, thank you for coming on. I want to know a little bit more about the person behind that mad scientist lab jacket that you wear, because that is what you are, in my opinion, a mad scientist when it comes to StarCraft. Jesse, welcome to the show. Please take the mic.
Thanks, man.
So tell us a little bit about you, Jesse. Want to know school, work, a day in the life of that player everyone knows is RuFF.
Okay. Well, to begin, I guess I could tell you guys I go to Fayetteville State University. I have a bachelor's degree in mathematics, so everything I think about in this game is always revolves around math. I always think about how to create my builds a little differently from others. A lot of my builds involve math, really. So, like for an example, I think about doing this Marine build against a Zerg, where I go ahead and get the armor upgrade over the attack upgrade because 5 times 7 is 35, but add the little health bar regeneration to the Zergling, and really you're still only doing 6 shots to kill the Zergling as if you have the +1 upgrade. So I go with these kind of weird builds in mind when I go ahead and play. But I first started playing Brood War right when let me put it this way. I first started playing vanilla StarCraft immediately as it came out. And I recently haven't gotten good at Brood War until I want to say maybe 6 months before StarCraft 2 actually released. I never did actually play the beta for StarCraft.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about what makes your play style so different. You talked a little bit about it being math, but clearly, if I think even after watching, I think we've got some great pictures of most of Team EG staring up at Strifecrow's screen with their head cocked, going, "Oh my God, what is he doing?" And I think when Sir Scoot shook hands with me to congratulate me on the win, he was like, I don't know if that's going to last forever, but I think the one thing was unusual play style, I think was his exact words. So, but what do you think separates you from others when it comes to what drives you? Because a lot of other players tend to copy and master some of the builds that they've seen, and they're very good at countering. But you're very difficult to counter because you generally don't have a standard build. So let's talk a little bit about your approach to the game and how you believe it differs from a lot of the other players. Because clearly, I think most people would say your play style is unusual or it can't work forever or whatever negative comments they have, but you've been doing it and you keep doing better. So let's talk a little about what you think makes you slightly different from everybody else.
Okay. Well, I think a good example of this is maybe to tell some of the audience here 2 of the builds that I'm actually famous for that a lot of players come to me always asking me to do. And I'm going to go ahead and start out with this TVP build that I do, which is just the Marine Medevac. And at first, when I first started playing the game, I used to be very cheesy. I always cheesed my way up to the ladder, doing proxies. Back when there was only Diamond, they didn't even have Masters out yet. So as soon as they started, nerfing Terran, I was actually at a loss and I didn't know what to do. That's when I started incorporating Blue Flames, and then, eventually they nerfed the Blue Flames. But against Protoss, I always seem to have gotten cheesed on the ladder when I would try to expand or, even just sit in my base. If I go Marauders or something, then, Void Rays would come by or, something silly like that. So I always tried to find this well-rounded build that would basically stop anything. And eventually I just thought to myself, why don't I just go Marine Medivacs? Marines can shoot the air. If I get the +1 upgrade from the engineering bay, I'll have an engineering bay for Dark Templar, things like that. And eventually, there were a lot of flukes in the build, but you just constantly keep playing and playing, doing these builds, and then slowly retaining it to the point that, now there's nothing that can counter it, I did play vileIllusion and used this build, and he blind countered me going 1 base Colossus, but even though he blind countered me, I was already aware of how to transition into this build because I've done it so many times. I just immediately expanded. I didn't get any Marauders. I just stayed on Marines and pumped gas all into Vikings and just used the Viking micro to take out every single Colossus he had and just rushed in with Marines.
Of all the players we've had on the show, I'm going to be honest, RuFF, normally I would never let a player talk much about StarCraft or StarCraft builds, but one thing I want our audience to hear is that laboratory that I know you live in. For those who may not know, in VV Gaming, we refer to RuFF as the mad scientist, and hopefully we've given you at least a small glimpse into why we call him that. There's just a real deep passion for the way he constructs and approaches the game of StarCraft. So now that we still have Illusion here and we still have you here, RuFF, I want to talk a little bit about the event as a whole. And I guess I'm going to start off with you, Chris, if you don't mind. What were some of the things at the events that went really, really well? And what were some of the things at the events that you really didn't like and weren't real pleased with? Then I'm going to give those same questions to you, RuFF, and I'm going to turn it over to my co-host to ask some questions. But I really want to start there because I know MLG listens to the show, and a lot of people want to know what went well at the event, what could be done better, and then the same thing for you, RuFF. So, Chris, if you don't mind, start us out.
I didn't really have any problems with the event because usually after my matches I went out and went to go eat and talk to some people. But one thing that always tires me out at every MLG is just nowhere to sit down, but can't really do that with the fire regulations. But with the venue, I was pretty happy with it. I didn't encounter anything bad, but the only thing bad for me personally was my preparation on Sunday because I have to play so early. I think that's the only problem I had with it. It was like 10 a.m. and my match is finished at like 2. It was just bad.
That's all you got for us. Okay, RuFF, what about you?
I actually had no problems with the event this time because I know that things are going to be changing next year. If I wanted to specify problems, I would just say that there are players who get the opportunity to practice when other players cannot, and that was actually one of my biggest issues at the MLG events that I've gone to. But seeing as it was Providence, it was the last one. I had I didn't have any problems with how the MLG was structured.
Okay, well, I actually want to follow up with you guys though, because I tend to ask my players these questions sort of like this anyway. I tend to ask them right after an event, sort of together, what some of the problems they might have had, just because make sure there's not anything that we personally can't fix, or check six, that kind of thing. And there's a few questions that I always really seem to come up. Number one being when we talked about last week, when we had both, I believe, Titan and Jimmy on. From Jimmy, of course, being from my team, and Titan being from VVV. They really were talking about how the open bracket, tends to affect players. How it, of course, tends to be incredibly hard to get into the championship bracket. It's incredibly hard to get someone that is in the championship bracket out of the championship bracket, so on and so forth. Now that some of you have made it into the championship bracket, and both of you have done incredibly well, what's your opinions now on the open bracket? Has it changed just because you've done better this event, or is it still the same? What are you guys thinking?
Okay. Personally, at the last few events, I was really exhausted by the open bracket, and I don't know. I guess this event, I just had better mentality going to it, so I had longer endurance, so I didn't have too many problems. And I think the fact that I was playing so many games, and then like I didn't have to worry about warming up before every game because I was playing game after game after game. Sometimes it's exhausting because I couldn't get food, but I think it just kept me in a good mentality state where I could keep on playing without stopping.
Gotcha. All right. How about you, RuFF?
Okay, I'm trying to think here. I think that yes, the open bracket really is unfair. Like I said, though, I wasn't too worried about it at Providence because I took Providence more as a practice effect because I know MLG is going to go through changes next year. But something that I didn't worry so much at this MLG event with the open bracket at all because I've been practicing with SteelSeries gear at other LAN events. And for some reason, I noticed a huge difference compared to using like my old Dynex and Logitech mouse and keyboard. I used to go to these MLG events, and I remember in Raleigh, I went against Drewby, and I was misclicking like crazy, and I lost horribly, even though I had a huge advantage. And I usually have to go tell the tech guy to come over, uninstall this at the MLG computer, this and that, and even still, the computer still feels a bit sketchy when I'm trying to play. So I felt really good going to this MLG. I was doing extremely well at LANs with the new gear, and as soon as I hooked it up, it felt like I was playing at home. So I really didn't have too much to worry about there at the MLG. Like I said, they're going to go through changes. I dislike the structure that they have, and that's that.
Gotcha. Okay, so it doesn't seem like your guys' opinions have really changed that much. Just maybe your mindset for this particular event. I have another quick question about some, I guess, sort of the controversy a little bit with surrounding MLG and some of the ways that it might handle some of the players being late and things like that. We hear stories every once in a while of a player being late and a player getting disqualified, then another player being late that's more popular and not being disqualified. Have you guys had any sort of experience with that at all? If you do, what's your opinion on that? I mean, you mentioned something about not being able, some players being able to practice more than others. That's my whole thing is I'm wondering what your guys' opinion is on maybe the mistreatment of some players as compared to other players.
I guess I'll start off.
Once again, I'll start with Chris. Sorry.
Yeah, I didn't have any problems at this MLG, but at Raleigh, actually, I'm not sure which MLG it was, but I played the Muslim in an MLG. It was around 2 a.m. or so, playing my round 4 or round 5 winners bracket match in the open bracket, and he had like 20 extra minutes to set up, and I'm not even sure why. Like it was starting at 2, but he had until like 2:20. They were installing all these new drivers, and he wasn't even there like on time. He was like a few minutes late, but they still let him set all these drivers up, and that annoyed me. But I didn't have any problems with that at this MLG. They were a lot more tight about it. Like they didn't let some players go to the bathroom and stuff like that. But I think overall it's okay now. But the only problem is people practicing. Like some players can't practice, but some people can, and that's the only thing that frustrates me.
Gotcha. Okay, and I think that's gets sounded off by a lot of players. So I agree. Alex, how about you? Or RuFF, how about you?
I'd have to agree with Chris there. It's the same issue, just other players can practice when we can't. I haven't really ran into any issues where players have been late before. I have, in Raleigh, someone was DQ'd, but he didn't show up, so I can't really say anything on that. It's not like he was late, so I haven't really experienced anything upon those lines.
Gotcha. Okay, well, I have one last question just for you both about MLG. You guys played a lot of matches. You both came from the open brackets. You played a ridiculous amount of matches throughout the course of the event. What is your most memorable one? Which one would you tell people to watch because it was just that amazing match? Even if you lost it, which I don't think you're going to tell me one that you lost, but which one? And let's start with Chris.
I would say my entire series for Chef was pretty entertaining. I had a lot of I could hear people after my match like being amazed at just like how we were both playing, and I really enjoyed playing Chef. And just the whole series is fun to play and fun to watch. And my game versus TLO, game 2 on Shakur's, I think that was also a really good game.
And did you? I didn't see where you had played TLO. Did you? When did you play TLO?
It was in the winners bracket. It was like round 4.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I actually missed that match somehow. So yeah, I'll definitely have to go look at that. Who did you play in the in your placement match? Your final placement match? Do you remember, or did you play one?
Placement match? Do you mean to get into championship bracket?
No, I'm sorry. What is it called? The concession match? What is it called, Jerry? Help me out.
Consolation match?
Consolation match. There we go. Yeah.
The ref didn't tell me about that. It was my first time getting champ bracket, so I didn't even know there was something as a consolation match, so I didn't even know there was one, and the ref didn't tell me after I lost to A-Pro, so I was pretty bummed out with that.
I was just curious, because you don't really hear about the consolation matches anymore. Okay, Alex, same question to you, bud.
Jesse.
Ruff, I'm sorry. it's got messed up. I'm sorry, Ruff.
Okay. My most memorable match, well, I can either pick between Strife Crow or Dodoro. And as much as I want to say Strife Crow, because there were so many players just watching and the entire EG house and BBV members just going nuts behind me, I'm going to have to say that my second match against Dodoro was probably the most entertaining match, even though it wasn't on a casted stage. The reason I say this is even though nobody could really see it unless someone was sitting behind me, the second match I actually tried to go for cheese because I was down a game. I proxied, and he spotted the proxy, and he didn't see my fake barracks in my base. So I was already behind, and the Doro decided to go for a 4-gate, and he busted in my base. He had, I want to say, 15, 16, 17 different Protoss units, destroying everything, killed all my Marines at my front, busted in my base. Everything is on fire. And 2 medevacs come right out of the starport. I have 6 Marines, and I load the 6 Marines, SCVs, all into the medevac, fly to his base, drop off, and just kill his Nexus with SCVs and just a handful of Marines. And when I did that, he was out of minerals. He did not have enough minerals to rebuild. And I managed to psych him out a little bit with my command center. The command center was probably at 100 health left before I was able to repair it. And it was the only flying structure I had left besides 1 barracks. And I managed to fly the command center back to my base a little bit, try to fake him out, go to my base, and then I flew it back after building bunkers in his base in order to just defend and actually win that match. So it was extremely intense, because if I would have lost that match, I would have been knocked out in round 4 losers. And I have never had, I want to say, goosebumps ever at a live event. And I know a lot of people tend to get goosebumps all the time, but I'm usually one of those relaxed players when I go to events where I don't get that. And in that game, I just had them all over me. I felt like I was shaking. And it was really intense, that game. And the reason I don't want to say the game was Strife Crow is because, well, I do that build all the time. even though everybody found it extremely unique, I use it a lot, so it's not that entertaining to me.
Gotcha. Okay, well, Asylum, I know you have some follow-up questions for these guys, and Ruff, that's absolutely hilarious. I can't describe that match. I'm definitely going to have to look it up. So I'm very glad you chose it. I'm sure everybody else will be looking forward to it. Asylum, I know you got some follow-up questions, bud.
Yeah, definitely. This question I'm going to ask, I want Illusion to answer it first, and then we'll go to you, Jesse. But in regards to the bracket and how everything is played, not only just the open bracket, but in championship bracket as well, as some of the people might not know that are listening, if you end up playing against somebody that you've played before from the winner's bracket and you're in the loser's bracket, you have to play an extended series, which can add a lot more stress, onto the players that are actually having to go against and are down either 2-0 or 2-1. So I want to get the players' opinions on it. Like, what do you like the extended series? Do you not like it? Why not? Illusion, we'll start with you.
I haven't had much experience with it, so I couldn't say from personal experience, but I can say it's obviously better for the person who won the series before. It's obviously bad for the person who lost the games before. I think it's fair. Like, it's fair that it's an extended series, but I think it'd be better if it was just like a best of 3 or something like that, because it really does exhaust the players out if they're playing an extended series and they're having to go for the open bracket, and it just causes more games and makes all the players exhausted. And that's my only input on it.
Right, because I know myself, I watched quite a few extended series out there in Providence this weekend, and it was just it wasn't just frustrating, but it was exhausting on the players to not only have to play that same opponent, but have to beat them. Because most of the extended series I did watch were 2-0. So they would have to win 4 games, almost straight. You know, they can drop 1 game in between there, but they literally have to win 4 out of the first 5 games. So from what I saw, it was extremely frustrating. And Jesse, I know you have some experience in this, so I want to get your opinion on it.
I always seem to end up doing extended series at MLGs. Well, at least at the MLGs I've gone to. And the first one was an extended series against Caliber and Raleigh. And it went in my favor because, I won my matches. But to be completely honest, I really don't like the extended series. And in Providence, I played Major in an extended series, and the problem with the extended series is, if it's 2-1, it's not so bad. But if you go 2-0, then you're going to be in big trouble if you run into an extended series and the other player does not get knocked out. And that's actually what happened to myself when I went against Major. So when I ended up playing Major, I was already demoralized just a little bit. Because I was thinking, oh man, 2 down, it's going to be extremely tough. But I thought about it logically, and I think that the extended series is a bad idea. However, if they ever incorporated the game to the point that, someone is still in the winner's bracket and you're in the loser's bracket and you end up facing each other again, then I agree that there should be an extended series. But if the player has been knocked into the loser's bracket, then I believe it should just be a best of 3, if that makes sense.
So you're saying if you lost to the player in the winner's bracket and you play that same player again in the losers, it should be extended. But if you play another player who you have not played in the winner's bracket, it should just be best of 3. Do I understand that right?
No. Basically,
I think it's a flip around on that one.
Basically, if I ran into a player and he beat me, and then I ran into him later and he never got knocked into the loser's bracket, let's say it's a different kind of tournament setup, and I ran into him again, it should be an extended series. Basically, he's never lost before, and I've lost once, if that makes sense. But if he beats me, and then later on another player beats him, and we're both knocked into the loser's bracket, I believe it should be a best of 3.
Interesting. Okay.
That's my take on it.
That's interesting. All right.
But just as a quick follow-up question on that, in the current MLG setup, wouldn't you always at one point in time or another get knocked in the loser's bracket before you play someone else?
Not necessarily. Something I've noticed is that it tends to be random. Sometimes players that get knocked into the loser's bracket don't necessarily end up in the same bracket that you've been knocked into. I'm sure you've all noticed that in Orlando, someone who was knocked into the loser's bracket and another that was stayed in the winner's bracket actually ended up facing each other in the championship bracket. And then it was an extended series. And in that situation, I do agree that, yes, there should be an extended series. But if I get knocked into the loser's bracket, and let's say, if Providence is a little different and Major got knocked into the loser's bracket, then I believe it should be a best of 3 if we ever met again. I'm not sure if anybody has followed up on Orlando, but I know that a player has been knocked into the loser's bracket and another player stayed in the winner's bracket and ended up facing each other in the championship bracket before. So technically, a player hasn't really been knocked down, at least from what I recall. And I don't know who it was. It was two really good players, and it was an extended series at Orlando.
I do think I remember seeing that, but I can't remember exactly who it was. But I'm pretty sure as far as going back to the whole brackets and the kind of rules you proposed, when a player does beat you in the winner's bracket and you go down, if you meet them again, which I believe would only be in a grand final or in the championship bracket, it would then be an extended series. Is that what you're kind of trying to get at?
Actually, I think that was the case. It was Huck and MC. Wasn't it?
Okay.
Yep, you're right.
That's what happened. That's right. So in that situation,
it always does
legitimate.
that in the grand finals, though. Like, it would always go from someone who's won to someone who, well, it wouldn't always be someone that wasn't knocked in the losers bracket.
I see where this is going. I see. Yep, I gotcha.
But it would always seem to be a grand finals match, so. But anyway, I mean, it's a very interesting concept, very, 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 very interesting. And I don't really have an opinion on the fact, one way or another. It's one of those things that I tend to be very biased. When my player gets taken out because of an extended series, I hate it. When my player doesn't get taken out because of an extended series, I love it. I mean, I'm just completely honest. I'm completely biased about it, so I don't have an opinion either way there. So I'm not sure about anyone else's, but I have one last follow-up question for everyone, if no one else minds. And I think we're going to sort of wrap it up after that. And I tend to ask this to everyone, like I did last week as well. What MLG? The MLG season's over now. It'll be starting up again in a few months. If you could give just one or two suggestions to MLG for next season, for StarCraft 2, what would it be? And let's start with RuFF this time.
I would say if they would incorporate team play, not necessarily team games, but actually team play, like a separate bracket just for specifically that. So like teams like VVV and Check 6 might actually end up playing against each other, like a 4v4, which would be 1v1 elimination, kind of like what we would see in Korea for Brood War, or what we would see in Wednesday Night StarCraft. That would be something I would enjoy doing.
Like the ESEA League format, that kind of
like a GSTO.
Really
except you would want it. You would want it winners league format, right? Like
yes.
You would want it. Okay.
One person gets knocked out, they play the next one. They can pick who they want to go up.
I actually completely hate that format, but I do love the idea. I completely agree. I think something like that with a team would be awesome. Are there any other suggestions?
I actually think that MLG would benefit from this, to be honest. There's so much in StarCraft right now. It is the most popular at MLG. And if they would incorporate that, I can actually see the passes filling up all the way.
I agree completely. I would love to see something like that. I think it'll bring a sort of a different depth to things. You see a lot more of teams fighting against teams that bring back some of the old rivalries you see. So, Chris, how about you, bud?
Oh, I think that's actually a really great idea. I wasn't actually thinking of it, but now that you mention it, it's a really good idea. Having a winners league format, in my opinion, is better. I think it's more fair, but I know some people prefer the just 1v1 and then different people play. But my other suggestion would probably just be somehow implement a way to practice a bit more before your matches. Like, that would help me out a lot, and I think that's all I got.
Seats. They need more seats.
Well, yeah, and I think no one's going to disagree with the fact that you're going to want to practice more beforehand. Well, we'll see. I mean, with only 4 events next year, they have definitely the opportunity to make them bigger. And who knows? I mean, we're probably going to have Sundance on next week, and we'll talk to him about some of the things you suggested and see where their head's at. I mean, they're going to have a little bit of an off season here to finalize those things, so we'll find out. Well, I want to thank you both for coming on, and I'm going to let Jason here say the final goodbyes and then introduce our next guest.
Yeah, most definitely. Let's start out with Illusion here. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on, Chris. Thank you so much for taking some time out. I know you've been streaming all day, so thank you for stopping by and sharing a little bit about your experiences and your thoughts as well. Before you head out here, were there any shout-outs that you wanted to give, anybody that you wanted to say hey to? Please take the mic. It's yours.
Of course, thanks to my team. Thanks to you guys for having me. And I only got one shout out to my Twitter. It's twitter.com/vileIllusion. And it was a great show, and I'll see you guys next time.
Thank you so much. We'd love to have you back in the future. Take care, Chris. Thank you again for joining us. RuFF, same thing to you, sir. First time having you on the show. Any shout outs that you'd like to give? Anybody you want to say hey to? Please.
Obviously shout out to our sponsors, SteelSeries, Gamer Grub, Control Freak. And I'm going to go ahead and give a shout out to vileIllusion for beating me today with some crazy Reaper build that I haven't seen in a while since SCD Pride has done it to me. So I'll go ahead and throw that out there.
Well, RuFF, it was a pleasure.
You got any comment?
I think Illusion just took off, so unfortunately we won't.
I think that was. I sensed a little bit of salt in that comment.
I know, right?
I wanted to be nice.
But RuFF, thank you so much, the mad scientist, joining us finally on the Losers Bracket. We do appreciate you taking some time out and sharing your evening with us. So thank you so much again, Jesse.
Yep, thank you.
Awesome. Wow. So an hour of StarCraft conversation. Where do we go from here? I say let's bring in our next guest here in the next minute. We're going to probably be talking some Call of Duty next. We've got a gentleman that actually was pretty darn awesome on commentary for the first time at MLG. We're going to be bringing Goldenboy here in just a second. So, but first things first, before we get to that, I suppose we should actually go over just a little bit of the news, what happened Halo-wise, League of Legends-wise. What should we go from here, guys? What's your thoughts?
Well, let's not talk about any more goddamn StarCraft. Like, StarCraft's out. Holy shit.
Oh, come on. No, please, no.
You want to talk, what? Who doesn't know by now who won? You know what I'm saying?
We understand who won, but the point is that we've got to argue about a few things. We're not going to mention Naniwa at all and the Rage. We're not going to mention I am doing fairly bad. There's some things that really need to be mentioned. I mean, come on. What about the Naniwa thing, Jerry? You don't have anything to say. Jerry is silent about the Naniwa thing. What
you are such a fucking instigator, you know that. Fuck Naniwa. Who the fuck gives a shit? Like, what the fuck is wrong with Naniwa? What was that about? Seriously.
So, a lot of people say different things, but the gist of it was, first off, it started off with Naniwa playing. They had started the match. And he had, I don't know some of the technical stuff, but he had basically scouted an ST. And what happened it ends up the casters had got booted and couldn't join back for some reason into the match. So they had to restart the match. They restarted the match. And before then, Naniwa had supposedly asked a player, not a player, I'm sorry, one of the MLG staff members directly, hey, on this map is cross positions forced. Cross spawns forced, and according to the admin, it was 100%. So Naniwa immediately got into the game. He scouted cross spawn, and no one was there. So he paused the game, sort of flipped out, basically told the MLG was a shit tournament, and then restarted the match and asked for a little bit of time to recollect himself. I think most have already heard the story, but I really just wanted to get, Jerry's opinion. I mean, Jerry, were you able to see any of that live?
No, not at all. To me, it's one of those things where there are a lot of ways to handle it, right? There are a lot of ways to handle it. And I completely get them, if his story is true, I haven't heard anyone deny it. The Major League Gaming representative made an error. That's clear.
Well, just so you know, according to MLG says 100% that their admin never said anything of the sort. The head admin, MLG Ryan, who Naniwa spoke to, said that he did not say that at all. So.
Oh, well, in that case, fuck Naniwa again. I have no reason to believe that Major League Gaming wants to screw over Naniwa. Like, there's to me, any reason why they would be like, whatever. So if it was a miscommunication, if it was anything. Look, as soon as you come to a tournament and you lose your cool, right? You have to lose your cool with class. You can John McEnroe lose your cool. You can, there are moments in sports where people do some really cool things, right? And then there are moments but it doesn't work in video games, right? You look just like, I don't know, it doesn't work. It's not cool at all, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I'm fairly standoffish about the whole thing because, I'm glad the season is over, and these little like peddly dramas, the last basic desk thing we get to talk about, I don't even want to give him the airtime. Fuck him. Fuck his little tantrum. Sorry it was miscommunicated. There's a 9 million ways to handle that moment, and that one seems to me to be a really odd one, right? And again, I guess I guess it is what it is, right?
I would for the most part agree. I mean, I think it was handled, fairly wrong by Naniwa, and I think Complexity would agree. I mean, they might not necessarily want to say so, up front, but I think they would agree. And hopefully, according to him, he's apologized now, so hopefully everything is kosher at the very least. But I do want to mention something, and I do think it needs to be noted that MLG is very, very, very loose on their policy for pro players. They are incredibly loose in handing out technical fouls and handing out any kind of disqualification and any kind of problems at all for players that are fairly popular. And I really find a fault with that with MLG.
I don't know. I mean, in this particular case here, right? I mean, I think it's one of those.
He said, MLG is a shit tournament in front of, a streamed audience, in front of an entire audience. It was on the screen.
Yeah, but you know what? I totally understand, Kurt. And if it were, I have a different opinion on it. Let me explain why. One, you almost like, I think MLG would have lost no matter what they did, right? So if they go ahead and they penalize them right away, they look sensitive. Like I said, fuck Naniwa. Let them say that and do nothing, right? You opened your big fucking mouth. You made your big little whiny tournament comment, and then, you know what? You fucking lost. So at the end of the day, right, like I said, it's one of those that it's like, all those little passive-aggressive nerds that, are the reason that somebody like McDonald's doesn't want to be in competitive gaming, those are the people that make me chuckle, right? Like, why? Why didn't somebody from Dignitas sit them down and go, you know what? That may make that sort of little shitty little comment may work, in the UK or in Europe. But here at a big major stage like this, that this is a shit tournament, really it's a shit tournament. All the money, all the streams, all the people viewing, all the fucking fans. But to you, it's a shit tournament. No, I have zero compassion for him. And I actually give MLG hats off for not even fucking acknowledging it. Just letting it go, letting it move on, and letting what happened happen. Right? Was it to the grounds of deserving a technicality? Yeah, Kurt, I will agree with you on that level. It was. Should he have gotten it? I don't know. Letter of the law? Yeah, to me. You know what? When you embarrass yourself like that, fuck you. Just fuck you. So, I have nothing good to say about that. Nothing at all. Whenever somebody does something like that, it's bad for competitive gaming. It's disrespectful. It damages fans. No matter what happens, there's a graceful way to handle it. And, it's like, it's one thing if you're playing football, if you're playing baseball, and you're in this physical thing where the adrenaline's pumping and you sort of stomp off. But you know what? Here, relax. It's not cool when you sit fucking on a stage in a soundproof booth and then you throw a little temper tantrum. It just doesn't work. That's my cut.
Yep, I mean, I agree for the most part. I think a technical foul was deserved, but hopefully they'll be able to, better enforce those things next season. But yeah, I do think we should move on, though. I think we've dedicated enough time to it already. I think we want to go to LOL now, right? Is that right?
I don't want to scare you away from StarCraft. I didn't mean it like that. I just want to make it clear that the Naniwa situation, right, that was one of those that, like, made me sort of scratch my head going, okay, here's a player who now I hope nothing but loses, right? Like, it's just not...
Other than the stuff we have already covered, which is all the players that did, extremely well, and, some of the upsets and things like that, we've really covered everything else. I mean, I don't think we should cover things like Leenock winning because, everyone knows Leenock won. He played absolutely amazing. Liquid Hey Pro played amazing. MVP and ST didn't. All those stuff people already know and people don't understand. But
even though MVP did so place fourth, to be fair, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think, and you're right. I mean, but
I'll say this: if I was spending that kind of money, I'd be disappointed. But
Yeah.
I'm not, so I don't see it that bad.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, I mean, they still played amazing, and they still, they did have kind of a rough road, but at the same time, they just didn't perform as well as a lot of people would expect them to, especially Nesty. Nesty's first time over here, losing to Naniwa immediately, so badly too. I mean, it was pretty brutal, both times.
Well, but I mean, I look at it like this, right? This is sort of what happens in pro sports all the time. You have a player who's happens to be playing better than they usually do, in the case of Naniwa, and then you have a player who plays a little bit worse than they normally do, in the case of Nesty. You put that together, it just makes the player who's on the cold streak look really, really bad.
And then you have people who just shat on everyone else.
I mean, I think, what, to be honest, I agree with you. But to be honest, I think the story is, again, we have a young player. I guess what a good gamble by FXO, I don't even know if they even knew how talented Leonok was going to be.
Yeah, I mean, he still performed, incredibly well in things like the GSL, but no one I don't think anyone, expected him to take this tournament. I think there was only really one person who predicted it, and I think it was more of a joke. So I think that was like Kelly Milkies or something. But.
Well, here's the thing, right? Going back to Nani, Nanawan, what you said about, how complexity would feel, he apologized. I just want to make one sort of small little caveat here. He apologized, and I think, I don't know. I guess there was a part of me that went, you go from Dignitas to complexity and then you behave in this manner. Some part of me chuckles, right? But at the end of the day, I hope next season, right? Two things. One, if something happens like that on stream, I think you're right, Kurt. We have to give the clear signal to Major League Gaming that, maybe you weren't sure whether or not you should give this guy a technical, but anything that insults the fans and the quality of the event, that's just poor sportsmanship. And although Complexity may have complained, I think the rest of us would agree calling MLG a shit tournament because of whatever the circumstances may be on a live stream is not the way to do business. You don't hear professional athletes say the NFL sucks. Matter of fact, I can't think of an example of one. If somebody else has one, let me know.
They would get fined.
Yeah, well, let me know, because I can't think of one, But to that point, MLG, I don't necessarily want to go as far as you said that MLG caters to them. I think they showed a lot of restraint. They gave Complexity and Naniwa both a sort of a hands-off approach, which, again, that restraint I think is classy. But I think it should be made clear next year that, this is an example of not how to behave. All right, I agree. Let's get Starcraft. Let's keep moving. What are the news we want to cover? We got a lot still to go, so let's roll.
Yep, I know we've got some really, really interesting news in LOL. Asylum, do you want to take it away, bud? I'm going to let you start.
I wouldn't exactly call it, super interesting or anything.
It's interesting to me. It makes me want to cry, is what it does.
Why does it want to make you cry? Because Team Solo Mid won?
It makes me want to sob my eyes out. The fact that they can be such assholes. I'm sorry, they can be such assholes.
Well,
and then end up winning. It really makes me sad. It makes me want to cry.
Well,
but they did perform well.
You can say all you want about Team Solo Mid being assholes or whatever, but I was there. I actually saw what happened and what was going on. And you know what? Hats off to Solo Mid for taking Providence. They performed extremely well, unlike anything I've ever seen them do before. About them being the whole assholes, things I know over the whole Dignitas and Jet situation from WCG, that's old news. It's water under the bridge as far as both teams are concerned. I mean, I had the opportunity to speak briefly with Jet and Voyboy about it, and Jet was just like, you know what, it's water under the bridge. We've talked about it, and we're good to go. And that was even shown in the Losers Bracket Finals with Solo Mid. Or sorry, yeah, was it? Yeah, with Solo Mid against Dignitas because, Epic was the winners bracket winners. But Team Solo Mid, after they beat Dignitas, they said their GGs, they shook hands, they gave their hugs and all that stuff, and it was an amazing tournament. And you know what? Bravo for Solo Mid for, dropping the whole thing and being really good sports about everything that happened there over the weekend. I mean, it was a great, great tournament. Freak and Rivington, of course, casting it. Everybody knows I'm not the biggest fan of Freak, but he actually did a really good job this weekend. And I spoke with him a little bit about the whole casting scene. And hopefully with this new spectator mode coming out, MLG and IPL and all of them will start looking towards outside or sources from outside of Riot Games for all of that. But all in all, it was really great. And this being my first Major League Gaming event and getting to see my favorite competitive title at it was absolutely amazing. It's so spectator friendly. I mean, it drew nearly as big as crowd as Starcraft did, not going to lie. It was on the smaller stage off to the side, but there was still at least a few hundred people sitting there watching it, cheering on, being as loud, sometimes louder than the Starcraft crowd, and that just blew me away.
Yeah.
But
actually, Sundance at one point over the weekend tweeted something to the effect of, wow, what a big crowd for League of Legends, and actually had a picture on his Twitter of the crowd. So yeah, we definitely saw it even at home.
And you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and bring this up. Kurt, you want to give me shit right now? Go. Do it. Do it.
I feel like we're going backwards too much if I do, so I'm not going to. But yes, I am. Yes, I am. How can you applaud TSM for dropping it? TSM should have dropped it 2 fucking weeks ago. TSM should have dropped it way before they threatened to, email and had an email campaign to have someone fired from their job over the WCG stuff. And then, after going on air and embarrassing himself with Odie and Dignitas, I'm sorry, I have no respect for the team. So, I'm glad that they won in the sense of they did play the best there. But, it doesn't mean I necessarily have to like it.
Well,
so, I'm not a fan.
People get angry. People say shit they probably mean it at the time. But in retrospect, they figure out, oh, wait, I shouldn't have done that. That was retarded. We should try to move on from this. And you know what? I applaud them for doing that and not being, those antisocial, passive-aggressive nerds who just don't drop shit. So with
all the
Reginald,
blogs are still up on their website.
Of course they're up on the website. They're going to stay up on the website because they generate traffic. So who's not going to keep it up? I mean, come on. But it was really big of not only Team Solomid, but also of Jet and Team Dignitas to go ahead and just put the whole thing behind them. And you know what? Honestly, I think that's more what esports needs. They need the better sportsmanship. They need the better, interaction between other teams in order to make esports any type of successful business.
I agree. And like I said, I'm going to drop it, but I am glad that they won because they were the best team there this weekend. Despite, I think that's something to talk about is really Epic's performance. I mean, to be honest, there was only 4 teams there, but I think a lot of people were surprised in how well Epic has performed with 0 practice. I mean, a lot of people talk, including most recently on Live on 3, the guy from CLG, I forgot his name, help me out here. Hotshot, there we go. Hotshot GG recently talked about how, they're probably the most unpracticed team around. And yet they still perform absolutely amazing. They beat Epic and Dignitas in the upper bracket. So, I'm sorry, TSM and Dignitas in the upper bracket. They beat TSM 2-1, and I think might have been Dignitas. Who was it? Was it 2-0?
Yes, they did 2-0 Dignitas.
Yeah. So that's absolutely amazing stuff to beat teams like that. So without virtually any practice. So, but later on in the championship, TSM was obviously pissed off and they came back and 2-0'd them. So congratulations to them.
I'll tell you why Epic is so good and they don't practice a lot. It's a team game, first of all. Of course, 5v5, who doesn't know it? The key to victory in a game like this is teamwork and knowing how to work as a team, knowing how each other works as a team. Epic, they've been together for quite a while, and they know each other. They know how each other plays. They know how they act. They know how they react in certain situations. So when it comes down to it, I'm a firm believer in every team should practice, but when you know your team that well, it becomes kind of secondary. I mean, they all play a lot, and they all go in the solo queue ladders a lot. But as a team, if they don't need it and they can still win events, then, more power to them. They're an amazing team. I've got to give it to them.
Yeah, I would just like to see how they perform with a decent amount of dedication and practice behind them, though.
Well, nobody's saying that they're not dedicated, because they are very dedicated to the game and the cause. I mean, Dyrus, he does a lot of casting for ESL. He does a lot of things not only in but also outside of the game.
Yeah, I know they're all dedicated to the community, but I'm talking about dedicated to the team. And I don't think they're dedicated to the team. I don't think they are dedicated to let's make this the best team it can be. I think they're more dedicated to, they love each other as far as like teammates, but they're, and they love playing with each other, but it's not, I don't think it's more of a dedication to the team and making sure that they're going to play their best all the time. I don't think that, and that's clear. I'm sorry, when they don't even apply for things like IEM, they don't even apply for things like WCG, it's clear they don't care as much as some of the other teams like
just to throw in there, though, I mean, I think you have teams that also, I mean, let's say you and I, Kurt, that seems probably almost unthinkable to us, right? We would never have one of our players or our teams not take advantage of all the tournaments where they could place well. So, that doesn't make sense to us. I think in these situations where you have, people stumble onto success, they really do need to come under an organization who can manage the team. I think that's the real best thing that could happen. Somebody that had that kind of experience. I don't know if anybody's going to ever pick him up, but I think that would make the big difference. And this goes counter to those out there who always have these whiny positions that, don't join a big organization because they take your identity and, whatever other sort of us against the man crap that particular crowd whines about. But that is a prime example of needing, at the minimum, a manager more like an organization to help, push them forward, because it is one of those situations also that, believe it or not, every football player doesn't give his 100%, but you would never find a football player admitting to not giving 100%. It's just not the way to act professionally. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I actually agree completely, and I brought this up, I think the other week as well when we were talking about the whole TSM controversy, that that's, to be honest, one of the things that the League of Legends community I truly believe is lacking. Like, they can say that they're doing all right without an organization, and some of them are. Don't get me wrong. Like, they're definitely doing all right, but when you would not see things nowhere near as much, such as TSM acting up in WCG and that whole controversy, you wouldn't see CLG putting in a ringer at an MLG match, stuff like that. You wouldn't see that anywhere near as much if they were attached to an organization, or like you said, just a manager, someone able to somewhat try to at least keep them in line.
I agree. And I want to keep moving, though. I want to keep moving because we've got one more guest coming. And, Jason, I know we have somebody waiting in the wings who I'm looking forward to talk to. So if nobody minds, Jason,
let's do it.
Go ahead.
Yeah, most definitely. I'm actually really excited about talking to this gentleman because we've had him on the show before, but we hassled him about doing commentary. For quite a while, we told him, hey, you got to do some commentary. And you know what? He finally did. He was one of the commentators for Call of Duty this weekend at MLG Providence, and he killed it. He absolutely killed it. To read off some comments that are on Twitter, let's see. We've got one person saying, I love Black Ops. I think if we had Goldenboy all year, our game would have been even more popular. We've got former VVV player WAF saying, hey, commentating is Goldenboy. He's much better than the past. Follow him on Twitter. We've got so many people giving him shout-outs saying, hey, this guy brought it with only one day to prepare. Even Nexi tweeted, shouts to Goldenboy for stepping up all weekend long and jumping in the booth with only one day to prepare. I'm impressed. This guy brought some energy to Call of Duty, which we sorely needed. Of course, I've already mentioned his name a couple times. Goldenboy, I want to welcome you back to Losers Bracket, my man. It's been a while. Alex, how you been?
All right, now that I'm unmuted after the LOL epicness that you guys had discussing going on, I'm doing good. Just got back from work. I'm alive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm tired. Just ate dinner. Wife nagged me for a little bit. I'm kidding. But yeah, I'm good, though. I'm good.
Dude, we were so excited that you could hop on. I know you had work a little bit late, getting back to the regular life after coming from MLG, but thank you for taking some time out on this Tuesday night and joining us. And, dude, what a great job bringing some energy to Call of Duty. So how did this come about? Tell us, did they contact you? Did you go to them? And, how did you get in there and how did it feel? Tell us a little bit about the experience.
Well, okay, so the way that it occurred was like this. Initially, I was going to just come on board as one of the community commentators. I was going to go to Providence anyway, so I contacted Nexi. I was like, dude, I'm going to be there, just messing around. So if you need someone in the booth to like fill in for Doc or Dunn, I'm more than willing to do it. Nexi said, no doubt. Then Puckett, after that, contacted me about doing an Uncharted, the Uncharted finals that they had going on there, in which me and Squid, who's in the chat right now, so shout out to Squid for stepping up after only one day of preparation as well. And Squid basically came on board with me, and we did the Uncharted finals. That's actually what I was there to do. I'm at work. It's like randomly 3:30. I get above ground on the train in New York City. I get a random voicemail from Nexi. The guy says, hey, dude, congratulations. You're the full-time commentator for Call of Duty. Something happened, and that's it. That's literally what the voicemail said. So I was like, all right, great. I guess I'm the commentator for Call of Duty, right? I had just done NJ Halo the week prior to that, both Gears and Call of Duty. And I had just done the Cyber Sports Network, play Black Ops Cup as well. So I thought, all right, well, screw it. At least I got some like refreshing time to hop into this. And that was basically how I got involved with it. But the experience was amazing. I really couldn't speak any better of it. And the crew, Nexi's crew, oh my god, just shout outs to those guys like Oz and Max, Fishbong, Alpha. Those guys are like amazing people, and they're just masters of what they do. I mean, they did the LOL stream, and the LOL stream was just phenomenal. If you guys were like watching it, I mean, I loved it. And it was only like a 6-man team. Starcraft had like 20 dudes on the left side. We only had like 6 people, and we were tearing things up. So shout outs to those guys because they're amazing.
Alex, I only have one thing to say, and that is, I told you so.
Oh, stop it, Jerry.
I told you so.
Don't do that to me.
Yep. I told
mad.
you. I know. Yep. Good. If you're here, I'd shake you, and then I'd punch your arm, and I'd be like, told you so.
Okay, no. Quick question, though. Where were you? Because every freaking time I had like one spare second, I was looking for you, and I couldn't find you. I find anyone with a VVV shirt. I'm like, have you seen Jerry? He's by StarCraft. Okay, I go to StarCraft. Don't see anyone there. Find another VV shirt. Have you seen Jerry? Oh, I think he's by Halo. I go to by Halo. I don't find you. Where were you, bro? Like,
dude, I'm like a ninja. I got to be everywhere. I had to meet with people. I didn't even. You and Alex Strife are the two people that. Or pardon me. You and Alpha Zealot were the two people that I didn't get around to. You, I tried though, but I'd come over there and you were actually casting. So I'd watch for a while and be like, you know what? This makes me happy. Makes me a little proud, because I think you do have a talent, and I'm glad you finally sort of get to realize it yourself. I know you were passionate about being a player, being part of the community, those kind of things, and you become a victim of your own success, but hopefully you really enjoyed it. So that brings my question: did you really enjoy it? How so? As somebody who's always seen himself as a competitor, with that, you took this step, you found yourself here. You did well. How do you feel? What do you think about your own future now? Do you still say, you know what, that was a one-off, I want to go back to playing, or you know what, maybe I should keep doing this? How do you feel about it?
Okay, so how I feel about how the event went, I'm gonna say that it went pretty good overall. I feel like Corey Dunn is a master at what he does, and I mean, really, like, I wasn't joking when I was on the stream. I kept on saying there's a Bible of COD, and there literally was. a Bible of Call of Duty to my left, it was Corey Dunn tracking every single statistic and every single main stage match from Dallas, moving all the way to the finals. So like if there was something that we needed to do, like something that we needed to know, Corey would just go through the paperwork and he'll find it. I mean, the guy is just amazing. I can't praise him enough, really. And Corey's a legend in the game. So that's it. Starcraft. I mean, it's not Starcraft. A Counter-Strike commentator, Battlefield, Tribes. Like he did everything. But in any case, as far as me, my heart tells me play, but my mind tells me commentate. And I'm a hot-blooded Hispanic, so I tend to go with my heart. But at the same time, though, commentating was fun as hell. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie to you. Getting a chance, like, okay, I at one point I was like overpowering. Or I felt like I was overpowering the StarCraft dudes to my left, because like Mr. Bitter and Wheat were casting to my left, and I was there, and I'm just like going in, and then like I'll see JP, Clutch, and like Shockwave like come around, and they're like watching me commentate. I'm like, holy crap, it's fucking JP, Clutch, and Shockwave, and they're watching me commentate. Belsey Puckett just standing there. Like, there was one instance where Sundance just stopped right in front of me and just looked at me commentate. And I was, like, kind of blown away by it. And then when we did that triple overtime game with Next Threat and LVG, which, by the way, was probably one of the greatest matches I've ever seen in Call of Duty, I really, like, it was just... It was a match like full of emotion. Like I just felt like I was in it, you know. And as a player though, it gave me a perspective that I feel like a lot of the Call of Duty casters that came prior to me just did not possess. I mean, and that's nothing against them. It's just they didn't play the game competitively like I have. I mean, I've been playing this game since COD 2, like for years now. And to me, this game is like, I love this game. I love this community, as immature as they are sometimes, and as much of a pain in the ass as they are sometimes. I really do love them. They're all amazing people. And like for me to get on that booth and commentate what I feel was one of the greatest tournaments that Call of Duty has had in the last, like, I'd say 2 years. It was an honor. It was an honor. Will I do it again, though? I don't know. We're going to have to see.
You always have to be difficult, don't you?
Yeah, of
Do
course.
it.
If I wasn't difficult, then I wouldn't be Goldenboy. I mean, come on, man.
This is very, very, very reminiscent of the conversation we had with Caesar a few weeks ago.
Oh, with CDN? Yeah, like,
yeah, with CDN. And we were like, you need to commentate, man. It's like, look, I can really appreciate you played. And don't get me wrong, I'm not one to want to force anyone on anything. If your heart tells you to go somewhere, bud, I mean, I say you follow it, because that's what I've been doing for quite a few years, and I'm pretty sure that's what Jerry's been doing for a few years. So I understand completely. But for me as well, coming from someone who, number one, is not in the console scene, at all, really. I'm not.
Sorry, man, I forgive you.
Yeah, man. Hey, you were around Corey Dunn all weekend, so I know you feel the pain there. Okay, so he's like me. He comes from CS, so he's my boy.
He's stone cold, man. You have no idea. He's passionate about CS. Like he's like heavily anticipating Go. And you won't
hear from him for like a month after Go release, I'm sure.
Oh, here we go. You got Kurt on Counter-Strike.
Look,
it's okay.
Eight days and a few hours away, man. 8 days and a few hours away. But anyway,
I'll play a little bit. PS3.
but no, man. Coming from someone like me, I would like to say that I did watch most of the Call of Duty tournament, and honestly, it was one of the reasons was only because of you. Like, I'm not even lying.
I appreciate that.
I watch part of it anyway. Because I like watching Corey, and I think Holly Doc did a great job before you as well. But you really brought something that a lot of the other ones didn't, and I don't know what it was. Maybe someone else knows, but you really did. You brought something to the stream that a lot of others didn't, and I really appreciate it. It was an amazing, really amazing watching you cast. And I think you're right about the matches too, man. Some of the matches were nuts. Like,
yeah, they were really good.
They were
we had
very
European
reminiscent.
Fuse, amazing.
Yeah, man.
Just
they
so many
were
good
very,
teams.
very reminiscent of some of the CS finals. Like it was, especially the final match with that. Was it a 3v1 or a 2v1?
Oh, the finals at the end there? It was
Yeah,
a 3v1 where Virus was on top Balk and Villa,
Oh.
and it was like some of the great, like, people can. I complain about the FAMAS. Like, I was on losers bracket right after Columbus. I was complaining about the FAMAS, and I'll say it over and over again. But that was like some of the best, like, Call of Duty. Like, it's just like how it was like the pure definition of Call of Duty. Like, it's intense. People really don't see that, and I feel like one of the things that was missing prior to that, and one of the missions I had coming into this was like, Corey Dunn brings one aspect to Call of Duty. He's the voice. He is like this individual that, can give you the knowledge. And when he's in Search and Destroy play-by-play, I mean, he's freaking in his element, and it is just amazing to watch. And listen, because I'm like right there listening to this man do this, and I'm like, oh Lord, Corey Dunn is a genius. But then when I feel like some of the other ones lack prior to myself is that they didn't have they didn't have like that passion, like that drive that I have as a competitor. You can only have that drive as a competitor, and that's why guys like Caesar and Blaze, like they're amazing commentators, and Face. They're amazing commentators because they're competitors, so they know the adrenaline, they know the feeling that those guys have as they are playing the game and putting 150% out there on the field. So to me, like, I think that's what makes the difference of a caster. And I believe even guys like Day9 was a player as well at one point in time. I think prior to him dedicating himself to casting, I believe he was a player before SE2. So it's like, he understands it. And I think that's what makes the StarCraft casters so amazing because they're all players and they all know. They just all know that feeling. They've competed in the tournament. They know the feeling.
Yeah, no, I agree completely, man. I agree completely, and I hope we see, despite you saying your heart's telling you to go somewhere else. I do hope to at the very least see you commentating some because if not, I will miss it. But I think like to bring that match back, that last matchup real quick, I have to talk to you about it a little bit because I know you were so psyched up about it too. Like you're it's one of those things that when I'm watching the stream, I like to see people with very, very high intensity. It tends to make me hype as well. The more hype you are, the more hype I am. I mean, you are what your surroundings are, and when I don't know some of the technical terms, but like I said, I haven't been following the scene that much. But that last round, when there was nades flying everywhere, and it was like with these set nades, these one guys had one team got 2 kills with 1 nade, and the other team got 2 kills with 1 nade, and everybody's going, "Oh my God, what's going on?" And Dunn's going, "I have no idea what's happening right now."
Yeah, usually how nades are. Nades usually are like that. When nades are flying, everyone's dying. It's nuts. Like the thing about it is like in COD, when you're watching domination, that's really where the nade heavy gameplay comes into play. Domination is like capture the 3 territories, hold it down for X amount of time. That's really like where a nade fest is at. But I could tell you this though. When you're watching S&D in Call of Duty, it's amazing. And to me, like S&D is like the more exciting game type to commentate because of instances like the final. Like I couldn't have written a perfect, final. I just couldn't have written a perfect final. 3v1 clutch to end the game, beautiful. It doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah, man, I agree completely. And if every match was like that, it would have been hard to glue me away from StarCraft. For all the other ones. So
appreciate it, man.
I understand. But yeah, man, my sort of last question to you is, I might be a little bit early on this question. I'm sorry if I am, but I'm kind of excited to ask it to get your opinion. Rambo from the COD community was on live on 3 last week. I'm not sure if you saw it.
That was Nate Shot.
That was Nate Shot. You're right. I'm sorry.
We had Rambo on our show.
You had Rambo, but yeah, they had Nate Shot.
I'm sorry. Yeah, it was Nate Shot. You're completely right. I forgot we had Rambo and they had Nate Shot.
Nah,
but yeah, no, yeah. So you know what I'm talking about then. Nate Shot was on there, and a lot of people applauded him for number one, how honest he was, and how pretty much straightforward he was about a few things, and some of his opinions on the state of COD and what should be done about it for next season. One of his biggest sort of, I guess, controversies was He thinks that it should be pure S&D. He thinks it should be search and destroy only. If Black Ops is kept at the very least, I don't think he really mentioned much about Modern Warfare 3. But I want to get your opinion on that, man, because to be honest, that really intrigued me. Because coming from Counter Strike, I like the fact that I like watching S&D. I think it's one of the more interesting game types, and I think it's a little bit easier for people to understand immediately. Like, what's your opinion on it anyway?
Okay, so yeah, you're right. Nate Shot had some amazing points on Live on 3, and right after that, I had tweeted Nate Shot and applauded him for it. He was brutally honest, and that is what we need in Call of Duty. The fact of the matter is that, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Us as in the console gaming, we're suffering. Like we're really like what was once something that had infinite amount of growth or appeared to have infinite amount of growth has now just been completely stunted by just the invasion of Starcraft or the takeover of Starcraft and the rise of League of Legends, the upcoming Dota release, Dota 2, and it's like we're suffering right now, and really, like, if you look at it, I'm a purist student through. Like, I got into MLG because of console gaming. I didn't get into MLG because of PC gaming. I know a lot of other people got into MLG this year because of Starcraft, and that's great for them. That's fantastic. One of the things that bothered me, and I would say that I think that this was like their idea, but it really didn't work out that way. And I remember me and Jerry had this talk in Columbus. Remember, Jerry, we were talking about them moving SC2 to the main, to like the middle where Halo was. And, you had used the word cross-pollination, as in like people would basically check out the other games around them. And that really didn't work. I didn't see it working at all. I mean, the Halo guys went to Halo, StarCraft guys went to StarCraft, and the people that we had in Call of Duty went to Call of Duty, and then they migrated over to StarCraft, and all of them migrated over to StarCraft. So really, the cross-pollination worked the other way, just affecting.
I think though it highlights why though. I mean, here's the question, right? Yeah. Why? You have to ask yourself, why did that happen?
And I can definitely tell you why. And the big reason, and the reason that needs to be fixed next year, is that we need to hear our casters. That is it. We need to hear our casters. We cannot continue on this path of us having people expecting to go to a live event, sit down, watch Call of Duty, and not know what the hell is going on.
Absolutely.
We need to hear our
Absolutely.
casters.
You're right. Listen, this is, I just not to cut you off, but I just want to highlight this again. As soon as you deviate from what traditional sports does really, really well, which is the audience having people guide them on that journey, you're going to have problems, right? Mm-hmm. So if I were the Call of Duty community, I would not be fucking worried about search and destroy. That would not be the number one thing on my list to change for next season. That is not what I would be fighting for, right? There is a reason people migrate to StarCraft, right? And it's not that any of those motherfuckers know what's going on. They're just watching a bunch of colors on the screen going, everybody else is here, so am I. And then they applaud. Trust me, I've seen many mindless zombie look and applaud, but
like me.
There is somebody there who can guide them on that journey.
Yeah, you're right. That's the thing. And it's like, the other thing as well that you got to highlight is that, and you said it before, and I'll say it again on other shows prior, people are there to watch and listen to these casters. I mean, they had like freaking 30 casters for StarCraft. Are you freaking kidding me? They had like a mad people. It was insane. They had Mr. Bitter, Weed, JP, Clusters on the Stage, Husky, I can't remember all of them.
Faceless, Artosis.
Yeah, those guys.
Artosis, Robin.
They were all really skinny.
Yeah.
But yeah, like pretty much those dudes.
Hey,
like,
why you gotta hate on the skinny guys, man?
Hey, I ain't hating on them. I'm a thick Hispanic, man. You know what I mean? Gotta show some love to the big guys. Anyway, but what I'm saying is that like, one of the things that like is just you hear these guys, and as soon as like Tastosis got on like stage, I mean, it was just like, whoa, you just hear like all these people as soon as you hear Wheat's voice. And then what I did for the All-Star game, and I thought that it will help out, and it did a little bit, but then this is a different situation. I don't know exactly what occurred, but they lowered the volume on our stage. I told Nexi, I was like, dude, it's the All-Star game. The players don't give a crap. Let them hear the casters. That's what I told them. And Nexi was like, that's a brilliant idea. So they went, they got it approved. And I wasn't there to know, like, to find out. But, like, according to, like, Nexi, like, toward the end, they couldn't hear the casters because apparently I was too loud. I guess. I don't know. Maybe we were too loud. Who knows? All I know is that, like, I wanted the audience to hear the game so that they can learn the game, so they can understand the game the way I understand the game. And that wasn't happening, unfortunately. And when we're there, Nexi's like, okay, you gotta close it out whenever, the game starts because, the audience can't hear you. And I'm like, doing it. I'm trying to explain the game in like 30 seconds as we're waiting for the game to start. And then from then on, it's like they don't hear anything. And say it tomorrow too. I'm going to the MLG offices tomorrow, and I'm gonna say, what can we do to get some casters to listen? I'm pretty sure people would be more interested in Call of Duty if they could hear us. More interested in Halo if they could hear us. It's very, very true. If we could just have people listen to us, it'll make the game at least a little bit more better. And if we can attract 10 people, then I'm happy with that. If we can attract 20, even better. And if we could attract 30 and so on and so forth, I'll be the happiest person in the face of the earth because I love my game and I'll continue to support it.
I couldn't agree more, man. I mean that, and I think people can really, aside on my, I think I just interrupted you, but
No,
you're a little bit late. I'm sorry. I just wanted to comment really quick on what Alex said. Though I agree completely, and the reason I do is you can actually pull that not only from other games but from Starcraft. Starcraft last season. At Raleigh, I was at the very first event for Starcraft, which was Raleigh of last season, I think. I think I'm right in that. And they actually had the casters, and they could not cast it. You couldn't hear anything they were saying. They showed the match, and you couldn't hear anything they were saying. And even then, what we know as the most popular game right now, it was not drawing virtually any attention. It really wasn't. Like, it wasn't. Of course, that that also has to do with the fact they only had one tiny bench in the corner of the crowd. But still, I really find that to be very, very telling. It's very, very hard to get into a game that you're not hearing the people that are supposed to be hyping this up, that are supposed to be explaining it to you. And a lot of these, and the whole cross-pollination thing especially doesn't work. I mean, because I'm not going to watch
because they can't hear anything.
Yeah.
They can't hear anything.
If I had to mute my stream in order to watch that, I would be forced to kill myself. Like, it would not be interesting in the slightest. So no, I agree completely, man. I think you have an amazing idea. I think the problem is going to be implementation. But hopefully they can.
It's a lot harder than it sounds. You know what I mean? They did it for the Dota tournament forgot that tournament that they had for Dota. It was like $1 million, but they did it there, and they had like this giant booth, and all the players went in there, and that's where they played. They did it. They have the noise canceling headphones they could put on the players' heads, but then that detracts from the headset sponsors and all that. But I mean, if they got over it with StarCraft, because I believe once they walk into the booth, they have to put on those giant headphones, if I'm correct, right?
That they do, man.
I mean, look, just to throw out there though, I don't think the problem is going to be that. I think the problem is going to be Major League Gaming is going to have a logistical problem, right? Because you have to have enough space then between the three main stages so that people sitting near the other one can hear what they're watching clearly.
Oh, I agree.
Right?
And I think that the layout that like I've been hearing all these rumors about how it's going to be next year, could accommodate that, but we have to see, but I know casting is going to be a major part of what MLG does next year, with online stuff. So, if I'm telling you right now, if I'm unemployed and I need it, I'll hop on it. You know what I mean? I'm just saying that, like, I just basically want this community to grow. And I think the best way to do that right now is casting and just having people explain the game intelligently and not just spouting out stupid lines and, one-liners and thinking that's commentating, because that's not what it's all about.
No one's going to argue with that, that's for sure.
Asylum, did you ever get your comment, bud?
I now have nothing to add. Thank you, Kurt.
Asylum, how about this? How about you and I talk? How are you doing, buddy? I want to talk to you.
You know what? I'm actually doing really good. And you know what? I was at Providence this weekend, and I completely agree that Call of Duty didn't get near the exposure that it deserved because we couldn't hear the casters. I went over there for a brief moment in time there on Friday and Saturday, and I was just kind of sitting there like, why can't I hear the commentators? This is kind of depressing. This makes me not want to watch this. And I was just kind of sitting there, and I'm thinking, you know what? I bet there would be a lot more people over here watching it if the commentators could actually be heard. It was a little saddening. I'm an FPS fan at heart. I started, back in Quake Live, Counter-Strike, and all that fun, all that jazz in the PC gaming world. And it was just it was saddening that I couldn't hear Call of Duty.
Yeah, and it's important that we highlight that moving forward, and I hope that something changes. But for right now, we're just going to have to take the season for what it was, and we have to thank Sony for stepping up to the plate and providing for the Call of Duty community. And, and at the end there, they, they wanted us to, say thank you and all that. But, I wasn't kidding when I thanked Sony because, to be completely honest with you, without them, it just wouldn't have happened. We wouldn't even having this conversation right now, So it's and the players out there that are constantly disrespecting the platform of choice by Major League Gaming, they have to understand without Sony, we wouldn't have been there at all. We wouldn't even have national champions. That sucks. So it's that's the other thing that you got to get into is the players. The players now need to step up to the plate and actually start to support the community. And instead of just asking for Twitter followers, I have pro players tweeting me, asking me for Twitter followers. It's more than Twitter, man. If they're interested in you, they're gonna follow you. That's that. You gotta actually try and be engaging to your fan base on Twitter. And I see a lot of people doing that. Guys like Revan, they're always out there tweeting to their followers, "Hey, come play with me." Sharp, Moho. All those guys are out there, the old school guys, they're out there tweeting to their followers. This is these younger guys, they got to learn, and that's why I'm looking to do that. After Next Threat won the championship, I pulled them to the side and I spoke with them for a second. I was like, guys, you are now the faces of competitive Call of Duty. Congratulations, because now you're going to have a crap ton of responsibility on your shoulders. And if you mess up, then I'm going to punch you in the head because I love Call of Duty and you just won 50 grand. So you should love Call of Duty too. And they all kind of understood the message I was trying to send forward. And, Stainville and Hastro, those guys get it. Optic Gaming, Hex, those guys get it. We just have to continue to push what we can forward for competitive COD. And Modern Warfare 3, it's not the ideal game, but, it'll have to do for another year until I can't believe I'm saying this because a year ago, if you asked me, World at War was but now we just got to wait for Treyarch to come out with their next Call of Duty game because they listen to us and they care about our community. So that's what I got to say about that.
All right, I got one question to throw in there. Modern Warfare 3 next season, what's going to happen? What do you think is going to happen?
That works right now, as horrible as it is. So at least running a live event, I don't know of an MLG magnitude is possible, but I know that, running a live local event, that's definitely a possibility, which has been done at the recent NJ Halo. We were able to run the event on LAN, and it worked. Basically, there's a little thing in there where you have to make 5 classes, and then the team has to share those 5 classes because those will be the team's default classes, and everything's unlocked. So it works. But obviously there needs to be more. There needs to be more inclusion from the developer. And I don't know if that's going to occur because, Infinity Ward, they'll respond to a person who complains about a knife or a care package before they respond to a person asking about LAN settings. It's sad, but it's true. And, Scoots earlier today had tweeted me In Control's article on the Team Liquid forums, which I printed and read it while I was underground on the train. Going to see my client, and I read it, I was like, it's so true, but at the same time, why does StarCraft succeed? Because at the end of the day, they still have support from their developer, and we have to, I don't know how, I just know that the right people are chasing after them, and hopefully we'll get some results within the next few months. But the game works, it's a great game, I like playing it, I prefer Black Ops, only because of what Treyarch has done for esports and Call of Duty. But if we have to move on to the next game, then I'm okay with it because at least it's not MW2, and that's all I got to say about that. But yeah, so my opinion, Jerry.
Well, I'm going to say this one final question, and I know we got to wrap it, but looking at this last season and looking at everything sort of how it ended, I think in a way it is bittersweet because a lot of the story of this year will probably be Too Little Too Late. I think that'll be the story of Call of Duty this year. You know, a lot of things were pointed out and a lot of things were learned. Knowing what you know, how confident are you that Call of Duty will be on the pro circuit next year?
Well, I know that they're looking at it. I know that they want it. But I do know that there are going to be some major changes made to the Call of Duty scene that some players may agree with and some players may not agree with. You know, at the end of the day, the emphasis is still on getting the most competitive game possible. You know, Deserto put out their MW3 rules, and while they're good rules, it's more of the same. You know, it's banning this, banning that, you know, doing this, putting this map in, you know, like, if you ask me what I would want ideally, I would just simply tell you I want Modern Warfare 3 to be search and destroy only, and I want to bring back the sniper into competitive play, and I want to see how, you know, that works out. At least just do a test tournament, get it casted, put it online, see how it works. Which I'm talking to people, and we're gonna see how it works. But at the same time, though, I know that I am not like the definitive word on Call of Duty, and you know the leagues are that are out there, so they know that it has the potential to bring in thousands upon thousands of viewers. It's just what will it be that brings those thousands and thousands of viewers to competitive Call of Duty? What is it going to take? So that's the question you have to ask yourself for the next few weeks as we find out what lies in the future for competitive COD. But just know that I'm there fighting for any little bit I can, you know, because this is my community, and I love it, and I'm going to continue to support it until I'm old and gray. As weird as that sounds, but it's true. Yeah, I just love esports that much. So there you go, fellas.
Alex, you are a smart man. I'm glad that you actually were able to join us tonight. Thank you once again for taking the time out, and yet again, man, congratulations for the attention you're getting. It's well deserved. You did a phenomenal job. So hopefully, if COD is back on the pro circuit again next year, then we will see you return to the booth and do some more commentating. Not trying to, you know, sway you with my preference here. But I think you've proven that you would be a good fit for the role. And as we've said many times in the past, we need Day 9s, we need DJ Wheats. And I would love to one day be telling someone they need to be the next Goldenboy. That would be a cool thing to be able to do.
Just about to say that. We need more Golden Boys.
Yep.
Most definitely.
I'll say this, Alex, you know, big picture, I think over time, when you look at Hispanics as a whole in the media, and I really mean what I'm about to say, we can think of soccer and we can think of the most famous goal, you know, that really comes from Spanish language covering soccer. There's something to be said about the kind of passion that is inside the Hispanic community, and bringing that to casting, I think, is something that traditional sports is normally ignored. And, you know, you say I'm a guy who thinks with my heart, and, you know, believe it or not, when I look up at the casters, I never once think Day 9 thinks with his head. I'm just telling you that right now. I think everything that comes out of Day 9's mouth comes from his heart. And I think you had that same kind of honest integrity when you were up there. It all came from your heart. So, you know, I think this is yours, should the opportunity be given again. But if anything from it, I'm really, really thankful you stepped up to the plate, because we at least, if you never do this again, we'll have an example of why heart is so important. I just want to thank you for stepping up and doing what you did this weekend.
Thank you. You know, like when I was, because to be honest with you, I'm not the kind of guy to go out there and, you know, try and, I guess, gloat myself or, you know, act like I'm better than other people. And you know, I won't lie to you, Jerry, when I was done that Saturday night and I turn on my phone, charge it, text my wife, tell her, hey, went really good, which is great, I'm proud of you. And then, and that made me happy because she says, I know you're good at it and you care so much. And that means a lot to me. And then I hop on Twitter and my Facebook, which my wife also posted a thing on Facebook of me, and it was nuts just to see it. But then I hop on Twitter and I got like 300 mentions on Twitter. Like that never happened before, I'm just a regular guy. That's it. I just love gaming. I just love competitive gaming. But like when I see people telling me things like you made me a fan of Call of Duty today, or I don't think that the Call of Duty community will survive without you, things like that, like I won't lie to you, Jerry, brought a tear to my eye, and I was like, I can't believe I was able to do this just by talking about a video game. So it was a enlightening experience to say the least, and I would just like to thank everyone that supported me. If you tweeted at me this weekend and you're listening to this, thank you, because I love you, and you guys probably are the reason why I'm so passionate about it, so thank you. And yes, I'm gonna give my shout outs real quick. Pretty much I just want to give a shout out to Nexy for putting me on the stream. Of course I want to give a shout out to my two best friends, Rowski and Ghost, who have always been there and supported me and give me the harsh criticism that I need. Shout out to Squid for stepping up for the Uncharted stream and doing it with 1 day's prep. You're the bomb. And shout out to my teammates, Ghost working in Shamrock, and of course shout out to my wife, my beautiful wife, who I love so much and is literally the basis for everything that I do. And I know she hears me because she's in the kitchen. So I would just, and of course the Great Vision Valor Victory, because you guys put on an amazing show every single week, and I thank you all so much for having me on. And that's pretty much it.
Oh, Alex, you say that you had a tear brought to your eye, but I think you just brought a smile to all of our faces. I know that I'm smiling from ear to ear right now. Just hearing the passion ooze out of you is brilliant. We need, yes, it's oozing. Like you need to go wipe yourself off. Like seriously, that was awesome. Thank you so much, and we definitely need to get you back on because every time you're on the show, it is always a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, and tomorrow I'll be on the F Slasher show as well, so you guys can catch me on there.
For sure, yeah, definitely.
Give Rod shit for us, will you? Come on.
Oh, I will. I always do, though. He shaved his head because come on, guys. All right, thank you guys so much, and I guess I'm gonna go feed my dog now and just hop back to that normal life. So I'll talk to you all soon.
Take care, Alex.
Take care.
Have a good one, Alex.
Have a good day, bud.
Have a great one, fellas.
Oh wow, I love having him.
He reminds me of what would if I could just be the puppet master and do the little things that I want done. If I could have pulled him into that role at the beginning of the year, would Call of Duty have been different? The answer to that I think is obviously yes. And I'm just glad he at least gave it a shot, and we got a good example, and we'll see what happens. So we're coming near the end here. Looking like we might have Sundance next week. So we can talk about the year in review and then a little bit about where the needle is now looking at 2012. We'll ask Sundance to pull out his crystal ball and share with us what he can. But I don't know. I feel like for me, it was a very different Friday to Saturday, just to share something with everybody. Friday didn't feel as crowded, and Friday got to walk around a lot, and obviously our players are playing and we're doing our thing, and I didn't have any meetings set, just a staff meeting that night. And I was very happy that, I was going to be here and I was going to see a lot of people. Saturday got crowded, really crowded, had a lot of meetings. And then as I looked out onto the floor, I thought, wow, this is sort of going to grow even more next year. And I do think we need other games besides Starcraft. I could see that in small places. I'm thinking Gears of War next year will be a huge, huge benefit. I think League of Legends needs to get its own space. It is that popular. All those things had to happen. I saw a lot of really great things go on that weekend. So, in a way, I'm really looking forward to a long off season. I really am. I'm in no rush to jump back in anything, just because got a ton of stuff to do on the website, and it's nice to have the holidays coming up and everything. And I want to play Star Wars: The Old Republic, so that's another reason. I like to play a game for a change. But I had a moment. I had a moment that was really odd. For those of you that don't know, there was a VIP party for all the team managers thrown by NOS. It was from 10 to 2 a.m. Friday night and Saturday night. Both those nights I was with the VV gaming community. Friday night I was with staff. There may be 12 of us or 15 of us. And then Sunday with the players and the teams, and there were like 26 of us. And when I sat down, I sit at the head of the table, obviously, and I looked down a row of 26 other people, and this is VVV Gaming. Somebody leaned to me and said, "You know what?" He goes, "What do you think? Are we House Lannister or are we House Stark?" And for those of you who are Game of Thrones readers or fans, I sort of smiled and turned and I said, "No, I think we're House Lannister, like it or not." And sitting there thinking about where we've been over the last 5 years, two things struck me. One was that, and I really believe this, I think that we will always need many games. I really mean this. I mean, I'm convinced that cross-pollination is the only sustainable way to do esports, especially down the road. And I also think that the other organizations who do good things, I think they need to be highlighted. And I want to highlight two. First one I want to highlight is EG. When we were playing against, obviously RuFF was playing on one of the featured stations against EG's player, Strifecrow. They were seated there and we were seated on our side, and Scott and I, Sir Scoots, made a bet, that the winner drink per map, and it felt right. It felt normal. It felt what professional sports was to feel like. We were the underdogs going into that situation. We shook hands, and on that given day, we happened to win. And Scott and I shook hands again, and obviously I knew some of his players would go on to do great things, and that felt right. That felt like esports. The second thing I saw that I thought was good goes out to Kurt and his group at Check 6 Gaming. There were two things that really I admired, and that was one, a larger turnout your crew had, and two, they looked busy. They looked like a team for the first time that I had seen at an event. Obviously, you guys, I thought, made a really strong pickup in a female Starcraft player, and I think a lot of people took notice because it's really good to see that happen. So I think that was really good. But there's been a lot of media coverage around the female Starcraft player, but also from your staff and players that were there, they looked professional. They had their stuff together. And I think overall, both of those are really, really well done. And I looking down the road, I don't know if we'll see more of that, right? I don't know if complexity will be there at that level. I don't know. And what I mean by that level of professionalism, I could see Check 6 gaining fans. I'm not so sure I could see complexity gaining fans. I'm not so sure I could see Quantic gaining fans. I could see EG gaining fans. There is an art to this, and some people do it better than others, and I'd like to see more people do it right. The one thing we've always proven is that we don't have to be number one to really show both how to promote and develop a very tight-knit, solid fan base. And this weekend, I just want to point out those two things. EG and Check 6, I thought, did an excellent job, so hats off to you guys.
Jerry, just to butt in there, I really appreciate it, bud. I mean, we worked hard on making sure that everyone was there and on top of their game as far as stuff. I can't promise we'll do that every event. Some events are better than others, but I hope we can continue that. And VVV, I don't think you even have to. I don't even think I even have to tell you, how often, most of the time, professional everyone in VVV is. So. I don't think that has to even be explained. So, But yeah, and I think we came along with some good games. I'm hoping to see the replays of the major RuFF games and everyone else we played, and hopefully everything went all right.
All right, Jason, let's wrap it there because I think we've covered a lot today.
Yeah,
I'm
most
tired.
definitely.
I was sick yesterday, actually, but somehow I started yelling at people last night, and it cured me.
That's
It's funny how that works.
It
isn't
really is, right?
That's
Dewhammer
his
said to
medicine.
me, "Why are you surprised?" And I was like, "I don't know. That's, tea, chicken soup, orange juice, a lot of liquids, and then yell at people is not what my doctor's ever told me." So, but I guess I'm just I'm built that way, so that's good.
Oh, that's amazing. All right. Let's start to wrap this up before we get to the normal ending of the show. I did actually start a contest last week on the show. I want to thank everybody that sent in entries, stories of MLG from either in person or watching on the stream. I did get some really great entries. Thank you so much. I actually did want to read out the one that won the contest. They'll be getting a free 3-month Xbox Live subscription from me. I'll be emailing it back to them for their entry. They sent me a story that said, over the weekend I went to the gas station to grab a drink. While I was smoking a cigarette in my car, I noticed a kid in the car next to me that I used to go to school with. When I got out of the car, he rolled down his window and he's like, "Hey, you're such and such," as their name, and they responded with, "Yeah," and they said, "Don't you go to those MLG events and shit?" And I responded with, "Yeah." So he blurted out, "Oh my god, I love it, that stuff's so cool, I want to go so bad." And he was freaking out. They ended up talking about Nationals in Providence. They were both watching the streams, and they ended up discussing the Halo match between Believe the Hype and Warriors. And in one match, Believe was up about 3-0 in a capture the flag before breaking down and losing the map 5-4. Medusa, the person who won this contest that sent the story in, went on to say, when I mentioned that VV Game used to sponsor BTH, I thought to myself, man, if Jerry was still sponsoring them, he'd be going on the most ridiculous rant ever. After watching this match, this entire conversation led to her talking to the person about VV Gaming and referring them to the site. So really cool to see that out in the world, even just going to a store up on the corner to grab a drink, people are talking about MLG. I think that that's pretty darn cool to see that esports is growing, and that people are recognizing what we've got here in the esports community. So thank you to Medusa for sending this story in. I will be sending you your code for a 3-month Xbox Live subscription. So kudos, thank you so much, and you'll be getting that very shortly. Onwards to the outro of the show. Thank you, a huge thank you to VV sponsors, SteelSeries, Gamer Grub, Control Freak. Thank you to the people that came on the show tonight, the guests. We had Shew. I know we didn't actually get a chance to give him shout-outs earlier today. He had just hopped off a plane, so he was actually going to spend time with his family. So thank you, big shout-out to him for stopping by, even though he was so tired from the tournament and just got off the plane as well. Illusion, RuFF, awesome players. Thank you to both of you for stopping by, and of course, I think we'd all be amiss if we didn't mention him again, Goldenboy. Wonderful having him on the show this week. Thank you as well to Alex. Another big shout out, Power Glove, the band every week lets us use their music for intro, outro. They are awesome. Go check out their CDs, some awesome music. Big shout out to the competitive gaming community for turning out in droves to support not only MLG, but also our show week in and week out. Thank you. Thank you so much. Be sure to stop by our podcast homepage. The website is vvgaming.podbean.com, and you can also subscribe to us over on iTunes. Just search for VV Gaming. Any feedback you've got for us, email it to us at thelosersbracket@vv-gaming.com. You can also follow us over on Twitter. We are simply known as Losers Bracket. So please, if you have any suggestions, comments, questions, concerns, tweet it, Losers Bracket, just at Losers Bracket. Also, you can always tweet to Lord Jareth, at Lord Jareth, at VVV Paradise, at ENE Key Hunt. Just send us your feedback. We'd love to hear it. Let's pass it off to their guys. Christian, go ahead, man. Get your shout-outs in for the week.
You're an asshole because you didn't mention my Twitter.
That's why I passed it to you first.
I'm at VVV_asylum. But anyways.
I love to rub salt in the wound with you.
You gotta make me salty. You always gotta make me salty. But anyways, first off, I want to give a big shout out to our VVV crew who showed up at Providence. Namely, some of our Canadian guys, Rumor, Priyan, and Wakai. You guys were a blast hanging out with down there at Providence. Our Starcraft team, as always. You guys are always amazing people to hang out with. Another person who I got to meet for the first time at Providence, we've done a lot of talking, is VVV's Esoteric, or Kevin. We had a lot of good conversations over that weekend, so I wanted to give a special shout out to him, and to our resident troll Spike as well. Also, of course, want to give a shout out to our regular viewers, Biscuit, Glory D, Arcane. Thank you guys so much for coming every week and listening to our rants and raves and what's going on in the esports organization. And you guys are all just completely awesome. I love getting the chance to talk to you guys every week, and a lot of you every day. And I'll leave it at that. Kurt?
All right, so yeah, I want to start off with number one. I want to shout out also to Spike, because I told him last week that if he showed up this week, I'd give him a shout out as well. So I'm gonna give a shout out to Spike. I think that's VVV Spike. I'm pretty sure that's right. So yeah, shout out to him. I'd also like to shout out to everyone that attended MLG from Check 6. So that's Aquanda, Winter, Julia, our newest addition, as well as Sickness, Pain User, Jimmy, and also Cool, and of course Major, otherwise known as Wendy. Yeah, so I really think they performed very well. I'm very, very proud of my guys, and even more importantly, I'm for the most part proud of how they handled themselves. Everybody seemed to handle themselves very well. At least I didn't get any midnight phone calls saying different. So really appreciate all that. I also want to thank the people that are supporting us and picking up Julia. I know there's a small controversy surrounding it, and the fact that a lot of people say that she's a quote-unquote lower-tier player, but I want people to realize something, that we look for the players that are most deserving, and by that I mean we look for the players that are the most dedicated, the people that have the most exposure, the people that have the most potential. And Julia meets all those factors amazingly, and she proved that this weekend. I'm sorry, anybody that thinks she doesn't. She didn't. She definitely did, and I really appreciate those that actually do support that, and those that don't, I'm sorry. And maybe you'll find luck with a different team. On to you, Jerry.
I want to give a big shout out to everybody listening to the show. Shout out to Sir Scoots. Shout out to Sundance and the whole MLG crew for doing a fantastic, just all you guys do. Let's face it, we wouldn't be here without you. So thanks to Major League Gaming for what they do. I also want to give a shout out to everyone Saturday night. That dinner was awesome. Shout out to our Starcraft players. I thought everybody in VV Gaming handled themselves again to our high standards. And it's just, I hear it every day. Every MLG event we go to, somebody puts in an application, somebody tweets. This MLG event, somebody donated $250 to VVV because of hanging out with us and meeting some of our people. So, I mean, I don't know. I'm humbled every time I come back from an event and see how well we conduct ourselves. So big shout out to the whole VVV community. And to the three of you, I want to wish you guys all a very happy Thanksgiving. Hopefully everyone will get a chance to stuff themselves silly on Thursday or this weekend. And we'll talk about, hopefully, MLG next week with Sundance. And hope everybody listening has a fantastic Thanksgiving. Take care, everyone.
Yeah, take care, everyone. Look forward to seeing you back here again next week. Same time as always, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. And if you have anything for us, you already know our Twitters. And thank you so much yet again for tuning in. We really, really appreciate it. We'll see you next week, hopefully joined by Sundance. Have a great week. Take care. Bye-bye.